Hello, Catholic Controversy here, and welcome to the director's commentary of an accurate after school bullying special. Little backstory here, I made this because I was bullied as a child. I have multiple different stories of being bullied, and everything in this little short after school special is based off of my real life experiences and the experiences of my best friend who was also bullied. Another thing about this little backstory is that I originally may start out with this as trying to do a vlog on cyberbullying. And then after writing the script for that, I thought, I've got to do a vlog on actual bullying. Then after writing the script on that, I thought, no, this topic hits way too close to home. I need to do an actual like after school special on this and presented in the way that I remember after school specials being from when I was in elementary school. So here we have the little explanation of the different types of bullying. This is something that was really lacking in like the education of why kids are bullies. My main thing is that with all the different things that we were taught as children, it was always that the bully just has these problems and is kind of bullied themselves, and this is just how they deal with the anger. And one thing that kind of always struck me as confusing as a child is that if it's always in retaliation to another form of bullying, then how does it start? That was something that was never answered in all the different bullying information that we were presented with as children. And it's true, I was bullied by both types of bullies. I had one kid where, yeah, he really did have the whole issue of he was bullied himself and he just picked on me to try and make himself feel better. But there was also this kid that bullied me because he just thought it was fun. So, with this, you're seeing here, we have the little locker hallway thing. This was actually a thing from with my film club. We were doing this, what's it called? Series of short films that was going to be episodic, and we were at the music school at my college, and someone said, if we ever do a thing where it's going to take place in the high school, we got to film it here. And this is what happened. I had to do a thing where it was being filmed in a school, and we filmed that there. One interesting thing I want to point out with like the title cards that I made is that while I don't really remember exactly specific examples, there were always like times in the after school specials where it would be like, all right, here's sort of a stock image with the title of the type of technique we were going to look at. And then there'd always be sort of like a freeze frame sort of thing of the scene that's about to play out, and then freeze frame again to show what was going to happen. And a kind of interesting thing with this is that as I was going through with the freeze frame, I was thinking, oh, how am I going to do this? So what I ended up doing is I used the video editor that I used, and I did screenshots of the video from the video editor, and it ended up working really well. Uh, Another thing I want to point out is that with my actors of Johnny and Eric, specifically with like Eric's bullying and why he's bullying Johnny's, for at least the beginning part, I wanted this to be really sort of we don't really know why Eric is bullying Johnny, so that if someone does take this information to heart, they don't say like, "Oh, well, this is just because these techniques are only true for the type of bully that is picking on you because he has emotional problems, or that he's only picking on you because he thinks that this is all great fun." It's like, no, that happens in both situations. So back to the whole ignore your bully thing. A little bit that I want to add on to that is that I remember trying to ignore my bully as a small child, and they just had more fun with it. They enjoyed the thrill of the chase. Same thing with my best friend, and yeah, I have no idea who thought up that was going to be a good idea, but it sure wasn't. Same sort of thing with avoid your bully. With avoiding your bully, it does make sense that if you aren't in the same room or vicinity as the bully, then it'll work. But again, they just enjoy the thrill of the chase.
Tell your bully.
Oh, tell your bully you don't like being bullied. This is again one thing that I think was going on with like whoever wrote these situations. They were thinking of this in sort of the terms of, oh, if I were a bully and think of things as an adult, this is how it would work for me. But that's not really the case. Uh, Another thing is that from the techniques, the only ones I really do strictly, completely remember are ignore your bully, tell your bully you don't like being bullied, and tell an adult. I don't remember avoid your bully ever like being from an after school special, but for some reason I remember it being there, and I remember there being like four different techniques, and the only thing that I could really think of for actually being technique is avoid your bully. Uh, One thing that I want to point out with this is that with like the whole idea of showing you the techniques, showing you what should happen, and then showing you what actually happens, is that when I remember with all the different after school specials, they would always show you the technique and then show you what's supposed to happen. And from my experience, that never actually happened. Oh, with Tell an Adult. So a little funny thing with this is that with all the different title card pictures, those were all shot separately. And when I got to editing the short film, it ended up being that I didn't take a picture for Tell an Adult. Oh yeah, another fun little thing is that the scene with Eric at the lockers in this, it was originally going to be filmed with Mr. Smith walking up to him and then telling him directly, and it's all being in the same sort of same frame as was with everything else. But unfortunately, my actor for Eric, he wasn't able to make it the day that we shot the Mr. Smith scenes. And it ended up being that I had to get creative of how do I make it so that you can see Mr. Smith telling Eric to stop bullying him and stop bullying Johnny. And that ended up happening. Another little fun fact that you might notice is that the actor who's playing Mr. Smith, that's Sutton, if you follow the PSS Let's Play series. We were going to film our normal Let's Plays, but I'm like, I really need someone to play Mr. Smith. My actor who was going to play Mr. Smith, he was always too busy and was unable to film the Mr. Smith scenes. So I'm just like, hey son, want to be my adult for this? And another little fun thing is that with the part about how Mr. Smith had to tell Eric to stop bullying Johnny, it was a little hard to try to think of, okay, how can I get it so that Mr. Smith looks like an adult and looks much older than Johnny, but doing like the whole perspective thing, because Johnny and Mr. Smith are actually the same height. And now we're at the Tattletale Lynch Mob, as I call it. This was shot during one of our meeting times for my film club. And this is something that I really wanted to make sure I included, because when it comes to telling an adult, there's always the problem of like, no one likes a tattletale, and it's never really explained the difference between tattletales and not tattletales. And again, through creative editing, things that were shot on completely different days. Amazing. And with Johnny being told if he didn't want to be called a tattletale, he shouldn't have tattled, that was really interesting. I had to tell him to, okay, fall back on your knees and then fall down. And we're actually kind of getting into the point of with Mr. Smith telling Eric that to stop bullying Johnny, and he now has 5 years of detention, and the whole tattletale lynch mob. This is stuff where it's not like this isn't really what happens, but in the mind of a child, this is what it feels like. Being called tattletale, tattletale, tattletale. It's not actually sort of bullying, and adults wouldn't really recognize it if you were to see what it actually is. But this is what it kind of feels like to the children who are being bullied. So we're about to come up to the whole bit that really made me say I need to be Superman. As I was writing this, I was thinking, okay, I completely destroyed all the techniques that are taught of how to deal with bullying, and they don't work. So I can't just leave people on nothing works. Too bad, you're screwed. So I had to show what actually happens and some things that I implemented that actually worked for me. Befriending your bully, this actually happened. And in the delivery of the lines, we're going to see a bit of a little error because the scene with Eric and the close-ups of Pokemon Y and playing the games, when I originally shot them, it was really blurry, and so we had to go back and reshoot those as well the same day as I shot the Mr. Smith telling Eric to stop bullying Johnny. And as I look at this scene right now, I see that it's not as crisp as I would like, but it ended up fulfilling its purpose. And again, this scene, it really hit me close to heart. And in the upcoming bit, this is where, as I was writing, I was going to write Suitman, the introduction announcer guy, as being a character all himself and not being played by me. But after writing this monologue and the story behind it, I said, no, I've got to be Superman. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I've got to play Superman. And it ended up working very perfectly because, well, of everyone, Superman has the most amount of lines, either on camera or through voiceover. And, hey, it worked out really easily for me because it would have been a lot to ask one of my friends to sit at my desk and read a whole bunch of lines and do all the delivery that I did. And yeah. So, again, befriending your bully. This is something where it's never taught. I don't remember this ever being told us as a method. And this is something where, again, it's not easy to do. It won't work in every single situation. But, yeah. And now, beat up your bully. Fun fact about this is that, for obvious reasons, this is never shown and never taught as an actual way to stop bullying. And fun fact about the book and notebook, that is my scrap paper notebook for when I do homework and scratch work. And then that book was actually from future young adults react to a book. And that scene right there where Johnny was beating up Eric from sort of a point of view perspective, I really sort of wanted to capture the whole story, kind of the look from, what's it called, A Christmas Story. And then I pulled Johnny off, and the fun thing with that is that I actually pulled Johnny off of Eric. And if you notice really subtly, this is the only bit of symbolism that I put in this intentionally. Throughout the entire thing, Eric has his hat turned backwards to show that he is the bully. And after being beat up and no longer being the bully, he has his hat forward. And going back to the scene with Sally calling Johnny a tattletale, the guy who played Sally, that's how she's written in the script, is she was going to. He had his hat backwards, and the actor, he has long hair, and it would have looked really kind of strange for him to sort of be in like this middle school, high school, elementary school setting as a guy with long hair. So I told him, okay, well, you can keep your hair up and under your hat, but you got to turn your hat forward. Because in my universe, bullies are the ones that wear their hat backwards, and oh, it looks like a scene's over. But I still got some more things I want to talk about, so I'll include some test footage at the end. This is some footage that I shot the week before I actually started filming to make sure that I could get some of the shots that I wanted to do. Again, you'll see Johnny, he came and helped me out. So a couple of things that I also want to continue to talk about is with that scene of the Tattletale lynch mob, what I want to do originally, like the way I envisioned it, was kind of having sort of some reddish tints going on, some interesting coloring, but as I wasn't able to do it because A, I don't know how, and B, that would have been just too much work to put into this. And with the whole beat up your bully thing, one thing is that I was talking with my one friend from the Dominican Republic about bullying. I have no idea how we got into the topic, but he said that yeah, in the Dominican Republic, at least where he was from, bullying is not a problem because no one picks on each other, because no one stands there and takes it. Everyone is like, if someone is picking on you, you fight them. If someone wants to fight, you fight them. And you don't get in trouble if you fight, you get in trouble if you lose. So just because no one wants to fight each other because of the way that their culture is, they don't have any problems with bullying. Everyone just kind of respects each other after like second grade. Another thing I want to mention is that with this, it was a little hard to kind of go along with, okay, how am I going to walk the fine line of being a sort of cheesy, somewhat campy after-school special, but still being serious. And I think I did a really, really good job at that. And another thing is that I might include this here, is that with the opening scene, originally I wanted to kind of have the camera sort of fly in while Superman walks into frame. But when we tried that, it did not look good at all. And I'm just like, okay, maybe if we had like an actual like dolly and crane, then we'd be able to do this. But we didn't. We just had a tripod and my Johnny's DSLR camera. So we just sat on the tripod and shot it all static. Another fun thing is that with Johnny and Eric, when we were trying to figure out who's going to play what, they kind of wanted to swap the roles. And if I want to go like funny, and if it was something that I could easily convey, because in reality I was kind of picked on kids that were much smaller than me, but it wouldn't have really conveyed the message. So we ended up doing the roles that we actually did, and it ended up working perfectly. So yeah, this has been the commentary on a realistic bullying after school special. I'm really glad that I did this. I'm really glad that my film club was able to help me out with this. So Western Filmmakers Association, thank you for all your help with this. It wouldn't have been completed if it wasn't for you, and I wouldn't have been able to complete my magnum opus. This is my masterpiece. I wanted to do this because, as I said, it hit too close to home. I was going to do just a normal style vlog, but then I said, no, I've got to do this like seriously. And it was all fun. It was shot on a budget of no money, and it was all shot in our free time and done whenever we were able to do them. It was great. Thank you guys for doing that, and thank you for watching and listening. again, with the ending scenes and the two techniques, I didn't want to leave everyone on sort of a downer of there's nothing you can do to end bullying and stop being a victim. I'm like, no, these are some things that I actually utilized and actually kind of was able to stop my bullying problem. One guy was able to befriend, and the other guy just had to beat up. And they stopped bullying me after that. And it's true. So, again, I can't guarantee that those will work in every situation, but they have a higher success rate than the things that we were taught in school. All right. So, again, thank you for watching and listening and letting me go over. All right. All right. Well, this has been Catholic Controversy, signing off, and may God bless you.